So, ladies and gents, for those of you just tuning in, you are listening to your favorite happy hour podcast. Let's talk about it. Ladies, how you feeling right now?
Good. Good, girl.
I need a sip of my rum.
Don't we all?
Yes.
We'll drink it all. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Vodka, rum, whiskey, whatever you want to offer.
We will clink to you
Yes.
when you provide.
Yeah.
That's our product.
That's it.
Otherwise, you only get the clink sound.
That's
in
it.
the house.
People listening at home, we sure hope you're drinking too, because we're about to go on a topic that's real intense.
Bring out your mirror. Look at yourself.
Mirror, mirror on the wall.
Uh-huh.
We're facing ourselves today.
Yes.
Okay.
So
That's
one last
the
time,
topic.
the topic is facing yourself.
How do you guys face yourselves? How good are you at
Every day.
Every single day. Every single day. But I feel like
I face myself.
the ultimate way to face yourself, I think the easiest way to do that is through relationship, whatever the relationship is.
Yeah.
But I feel like I notice my crap really quickly when I'm in front of somebody else.
Yes.
Why? Because they're reflecting your crap you made?
You know what?
In a way,
Oh, wow.
right?
You know what? My therapist said something really cool.
Yeah.
Well, actually, this is like the thing that I bring out the most. She's like, anything that, true relationship, anything that comes out and grips you, you know? Anything that the person does or says or that like grips you, that makes you, you know, have a
reaction.
A reaction, like
Yeah.
something like, you know, you get angry or you're upset or that is you.
Yeah.
It is not that person. It is you.
No, for sure. And I think all those things, like you said, relationship, you brought up what your therapist said, which I totally agree with.
Yeah.
But I think those are all nudges for you to look at yourself.
Yes, of
So
course.
those are exterior things, but the work is done with yourself, looking at yourself, alone with yourself. It's a personal journey.
Yeah.
And people are so scared.
I know. It's a terrifying thing though. It's kind of, I don't know.
Shadow
I feel like,
is terrifying.
but I feel
Why?
like we're like exactly.
I want to know why, because I'm not terrified of shadow.
That's
but
the
why are
thing.
you?
We're the shadow warriors here. I'm telling you. We've been battling some shadow.
Well,
shit.
shadow is terrifying in the sense that it's like what you don't like about yourself, and
Really?
that you can't necessarily change.
See,
You know
but
what I
what's
mean?
your definition of shadow then?
I just said that. To me, it's something that you
Okay.
don't like about yourself, but you can't necessarily change. It's part of you, but you don't like it. Do you know what I mean? And so when I recognize that behavior or that personality trait in somebody else, it bugs me. And I'm like, what the hell is that? And it's like, it's actually me.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's actually like a part of me. It's actually something
That you disown, that you put aside as bad.
Exactly. That's the thing. It's because yes,
But
I
I
label
know-
it as bad.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
I don't necessarily agree that you can't change aspects of your shadow. There are certain things like say jealousy. Would you ladies agree? We were talking about it the other day. Would you ladies agree that jealousy is a shadow aspect of our humanity, right? Like it's not necessarily something that people are like, yay, you're jealous, good on you. You know what I mean? It's immediately in that side that people mostly they don't necessarily want to admit to.
It's very
Right?
hard to admit
But-
to.
But at the same time, I feel like because like you have to shed light on it, you have to face it, you have to accept that it's there in order to change it.
Yeah.
Before, when I was jealous, when I was much younger, I feel like I reacted. It would take over me and make me just have a horrible time. And now, if I pick up on it, that one moment where it happened to me, I was like, whoa, what is that? What is that? You know, I had never felt so strongly about it, like about a situation before like that. And I feel like after that experience, since then I've learned to, when I get that little pinch, right away I'm like, oh, okay, it's there and it's okay. And it doesn't have to take over me. Doesn't mean I'm evil. It's just there and it's gonna pass because I'm not gonna give it more energy, more fuel than it already has.
Yeah.
And more like say in practical terms, because now it sounds very vague and like kind of out there, but I feel like saying that in that circumstance, how I would say defeat my jealousy is be aware that it's there, and be aware also that, say, if I see someone that I feel is either more successful than me, or she looks better than me right in that moment, and I get that little pinch, instead of kind of seething in my corner and being like, I hope she dies, you know what I mean?
I hope her dress catches on fire.
You know, that's it. Instead of that, usually what I'll do is go and give that person love. You look great.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. I loved what you did there. And in doing so, I feel like I could flip that around. And and that's no longer a part that I'm disowning. I'm just turning it into something less painful. I don't know if it makes sense.
I don't think shadow is only negative, though. People tend to just put their flaws in their shadow aspect. And I don't think shadow is only that. And that's why I think there's a misconception, in my opinion, of what shadow is. We're made of both. There is no light without shadow, shadow without light.
Yeah.
And even artistically speaking, you tap into your shadow, and beauty comes out of it. It's not only it's even strength could come from the shadow. A lot of beautiful things could come from the shadow, but people fear it because there's this, I think, misconception that shadow is something bad.
Yeah.
And what I think is that the shadow on balance could lead to something bad, but so does the light.
Yeah, that's true.
On balance lead to something bad.
Would you agree that shadow then is a hidden aspect of you?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
Like for me, my shadow is very present to the world.
How so?
I use it every day.
Yeah.
Well, it's just like when people say you're being seductive, or you're doing this or whatever. Even my personality, a lot of my intensity comes from there too. A lot of my passion comes from my shadow. A lot of my strength comes from my shadow. And for instance, pain doesn't have to live in shadow. Pain could be in the light as well. This is what people don't realize. There's not only the shadow is not only it's not only where your flaws lie.
So what is shadow to you then?
It is the opposite of light per se, right? But it's like when we talk about ego. Ego is not a bad thing. Yes, it lies in your shadow aspect, but ego is not a bad thing. It's bad when it's unbalanced.
Okay.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
Sense, because ego, in a sense, is there to protect you, to help you see through some situations, to protect yourself.
No, but even not to. You could also tap into that for very positive things. It doesn't. It's because you need both. Like if you're just working off of light, you're not balanced person.
But that's the thing.
You need both.
And I agree. I totally agree. But I'm just trying to see, like, say I'm an alien and I was dropped here and I've never experienced anything on this planet.
Watch Third Rock from the Sun.
Okay, right.
You'll get it.
I'm someone. I've never been on this planet, and I come in and people are talking about light and shadow. How could we possibly explain what it is? Because
I'd like to try.
okay.
But before pass on, I just want to say one thing. Because of what Deanne said, I think actually people have a harder time facing their light than they do facing their shadow.
That's interesting.
That's
Because to go and really tap into your light, you have to go with your heart and soul. Okay, there's no ego. People have a very hard time doing that.
Yeah.
And that means you have to face your higher self. Right? People don't want to face that. So I think actually people, believe it or not, I think people are actually more scared of their light than they are of their shadow. Like everybody knows, oh well, that's just the way I am. They're comfortable even in their flaws. You know what I mean? But people why are people fearful of success, even of their own gifts, which it resides partly in your light. But choosing that path, for instance, people are more fearful of that. So I don't know if people are more scared of their shadow. I think people are more fearful of their light. But I also feel people are scared of both. I think people don't want to face themselves.
People are just scared of
Period.
themselves. Yeah. But yeah, back to the I'm an alien.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for real, yeah. But Miss
I'm an
Lady Annie,
alien.
yeah.
I feel like the shadow is everything that we are potentially unaware of, to take automatic control of like whenever I spaz out, you know, that's the when I'm running into very uncomfortable territory, the subconscious uncomfortable territory, it pops up and it takes over. And I don't think there's anything wrong. I'm learning to really accept my shadow. And accepting your shadow, you can be in the shadow about accepting your shadow too, which is crazy.
There's a million layers to this. There's a million
backs and the backs and the backs.
Yeah, the backs and the backs and the backs and the backs. You know?
Yeah.
And some people are comfortable or choose for some reason to play out a long period of time of their life on that edge and learning and understanding it in very intricate detail. And that's really amazing. And it's not a path for most people because it's an extreme, you know? And then some people are also, like she's, like the light is all the stuff that sometimes you feel so grounded in that feels, the stuff that feels right is the light to me. The stuff that's like, bam. So you can get into the shadow.
But that depends how comfortable you are with your shadow.
Because sometimes you go chasing after light. Like, without acknowledging that it's already there, if you can't appreciate it or be comfortable with it. So I hear what you're saying, I agree. Like, all the parts of me where I meet with other people where I feel out of control usually feels like that's my shadow edge. And then there are aspects of my shadow that I've started to implement into my life and feeling comfortable with it.
Yeah.
Like, I met my shadow playing golf. Seriously.
I like what you said about the like everything that's unconscious, everything that's in the subconscious is like shadow.
Yeah, it is.
Now I have a question. Okay, so you know we've kind of cleared out what's shadow, what's light.
Anywhere where you haven't built a matrix of like control spots.
That's light or
for
shadow.
Me, shadow. Yeah.
Shadow. Okay.
Yeah.
So, what do you ladies do, like concrete, like actions?
Yeah.
To face that, to face yourself, to face your light and your shadow. What do you do, like for
I
real?
own it.
What's that?
I own it first.
But how do you own it?
I'm aware of it. That's number one. And I don't lie to myself. That's number two. And then I own it. It's like, yes, this is part of who I am. And by owning it, you start finding balance. Because, first of all, if you can't detect it, you won't know. Number two, you have to be honest with yourself. Number three, if you own it, the comfort level comes with it. And then you could actually, like, play around with it. And by doing that, it's like a flow. Like, that's what I think life is.
Yeah.
You know, so it's yin and yang. It doesn't matter. Everybody, we are made of both. So I think by being aware and actually facing yourself, and then it would be acceptance and then owning it, and it's okay. And then once you own it, you could play around, dosage it as much as you want.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna feed this more. I'm going to subtract this a little bit more. I'm going to, you know what I mean? And by doing that, you balance, and adding experience and maturity to that, it helps.
Yeah.
But to me, in essence, it's like, no, first of all, you have to accept it. You have to detect it, accept it, and own it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
I feel like when it comes to
like I really agree.
I'm like,
It's
yes,
yes,
I do. And
No,
but it's something.
it.
No, but it's true. It's something Lady Auntie always says to me, though. She's like, you own that, and it's true. I own it because to me, it's like, I'm like, I don't know why people are so fearful to go there, but it's like, there's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with the shadow and the light.
Exactly. And I feel like when I get in certain situations, say, I did mention, I feel like my shadow aspects are easily reflected through other people, like you were saying, like we were talking about. And I feel like whenever a circumstance like that happens, it's true. Right away, it's that feeling. It's like you feel it. There's a little battle going on inside, and you're like, oh, that didn't feel comfortable, or why am I afraid of speaking up right now? I know what I have to say is valid.
But the light is not being reflected to you, though?
What?
The light is not being reflected in others?
It is,
Oh,
absolutely.
okay.
But I feel like when it comes to facing myself, I'm talking about the shadow,
Okay.
how it comes to fear for me. Like when I feel fearful, usually I feel like a tug of war inside, and I'm like, okay, there's something there. And how I try to concretely tackle that is by asking myself really clearly, being honest with myself, like you're saying, being like, what am I afraid of right now? What's scaring me about this? What does that mean? Once I get the answer, what does it mean? Why? Okay, so if I'm afraid of this because of that, what does it mean about me? Okay. Come in for a big hug, all of y'all. Come on in. I love you. It's cool. We got this. I give myself a little internal hug, or if I'm home, I'll actually literally hug myself and rock myself side to side. I look insane at home alone, but it's okay because I'm facing myself. And it's true that in the end, I feel like asking those important questions and giving yourself the space to genuinely be able to answer truthfully without being afraid of your answer, without trying to sugarcoat it, it makes it easier to face your shadow. Even your light, because it's true. I've had moments where I'm like, God damn it, what if I do become really successful? I am terrified. I don't know if I can do this. But once again, I feel like it all links back to fear. Like whenever I have to battle something, it's a part of myself that I'm afraid of, whether it's like my highest potential or that part of me that I'm like, wow, I can be really mean sometimes, and I don't want to face that.
I find my light is reflected to me a lot.
Yeah.
A lot, yeah. Like, even with you guys, it's like, I find that, to me, that's what stands out the most to me in my reflections with my friends, is actually the light. Is like really good aspects of, you know, like, of my light. You know, I personally think that I'm a little bit more in tune with my shadow opposed to people around me. But I think that has to do with just my personality alone. Like, I kind of don't mind delving into the dark side. Like, I don't mind going deep there. Like, I'll do it naturally, and it's like, actually a lot of beauty comes out of that, like, for me personally. But it's interesting. I find a lot of light is reflected through people, like, around me.
Yeah, girl.
No, it's the truth. Like,
I agree, yeah.
It makes me see aspects of myself, and it makes me work on that side of myself. So maybe that's because where I'm at, so I see that reflected a lot to me. So maybe that's why. Maybe it's just a place where I'm at right now in my life.
Yeah.
But facing myself, I think I've always been my worst critic. So, like, as far as facing myself, I've actually always done a really specific, like, I will actually sit there and even analyze and go back and face myself in every aspect of my life, you know, like, where was I, where am I now, like, what could I change, what could, you know, like, these sides of me, am I okay with them, you know, how could I perfect that, how could I, you know, whatever.
And I think also facing yourself, it's important to accept where you're at. Sometimes it's like,
that's key, man. Yes, like, that is key.
I see something come up and I'm like, I am not ready to face that
Surrender.
shit today.
Surrender.
Like, today, I will take it easy and I will be in resistance. I will be in resistance.
Ace and I go through this maybe on a weekly basis.
That's it.
And luckily, like, this is actually very much part of our bond. But it's, we realize that a lot. It's like, there's a lot of surrendering. It's really healthy because that's where growth is. But as much as I'm saying all of this and, like, I face myself, there's something to face myself, you know, and face situations, because I'm kind of that, like, that person, you know, like, yeah, okay, it doesn't matter. Even if I'm scared, I'm going to dive. Like, I'm that type of person, right? Depending in what situation.
That's it. It always depends.
Yeah, because I could say all that and face it, but am I going to be self-righteous about it and actually go and verbalize this with somebody else, let's say?
Maybe not.
Maybe not.
Oh, girl.
Thank
Mystery.
you.
Read between the lines.
Do you want to say something?
No, I just want to say that, like, you know, when we talk about analyzing, does it happen to you sometimes you have like a good day, whatever, random day, and then suddenly there's an anxiety that starts sitting in the pit of your stomach?
Yes.
You know, and you're like, what the hell?
Yeah.
Well,
What is that?
that has actually been my edge. You know, one of my current edges, which is where there's a part of me that is really starting to recognize that a lot of things are starting to peter out, and I don't have as many crazy vortexes of psychopathy like going on in my life.
Yeah.
And moments when it just gets very still, and I start to panic, and it's like a beat, like do 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 do, and it starts forming words, and I start picking situations in which that feeling matches that,
Yeah.
and I start thinking about it, and I just fall into a panic attack. And I find it's funny that I'm actually laughing about that now.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't scare me
Because you faced yourself.
because I faced myself.
Yeah.
May I proceed, or did you want
Yeah,
to?
no, go on, girl.
Facing myself, strangely enough, when I know I really made the change that helped me start facing myself effectively, was actually, and I'm not saying it's for everyone, but when I decided one day to face myself positively. Like, as in, look in the mirror and say something positive about myself. And I didn't realize at the time, but the very fact that I even had that challenge made me go, what the? Right? This is some stupid shit, you know?
Yeah.
Really. And I had to, like, why am I having that reaction to something so simple as to just look in the mirror and say something nice, or say I love you? And that was when for me, my path took me to really drop off on light central, because I had been doing shadow central for
a while.
29 years nonstop, with accelerating bullshit coming along the way, you know? But at the same time, I think I started to peter out. There's moments where the anxiety just got to be too much, where I didn't even know who I was. I'm just this being that's constantly stressed, always waiting for something to happen, and this person is really, really, really attacking me, and I'm scared, and their voices in my head, and blah, blah, blah. You know? Like, you know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
And one day it was like, that's what I'm at. That's what I'm doing. Holy sh! But it took time. And now, I'm lucky because I've done that energy, that exercise. I'm facing my shadow again from this new place of feeling like, oh, I knew what I was doing and I'm trying to do the right thing. But then from here, I'm seeing those pockets where there's just no sense being made. And facing that is like the panic attacks, or when I'm like, for all my best intentions, this is just not working out.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
Yeah, you know what? I think that's a key thing that, like, I've implemented in my life recently. I mean, it's not easy, but it's really helping with the whole facing myself, is the letting go. You know, at some point, it's just like, let it go.
Yeah.
Because, like,
that's a
you
hard
know,
one.
it's hard, but at the same time, when you think about it, when you really think about it, okay, what do we control? What do you control? Like, what are you in control of?
I'd like to say myself, but you know what? Even myself, like, I think about my body and I'm like, there's so much happening that I have no idea it's happening right now.
The real answer, I think, is pretty much nothing.
Nothing.
You know? Like, honestly, like, pretty much.
Yeah.
Why don't you just cut the bullshit? Yeah, it's true. The answer has leg fell.
What's nothing?
You ain't got shit.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, but you're right. Like you said about your body.
It's like
you know?
I can try and do the best I can to stay healthy and make sure that I'm all right. But my body, I'm lucky that it's just responding to me right now. You know what I mean?
It's
like,
amazing.
I'm in control of nothing.
I was reading this thing and it was saying how exactly talking about control. How if for 1 second we had to take care of everything that's happening in our bodies, you know, this thing like heartbeat and like sweat,
breathing
and digestion and like the hormones that are flowing through you and just all of that for 1 second, you wouldn't survive.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It'd just be like,
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, please put back the autopilot.
That's probably why you're not an amoeba.
You know?
Because then they were little, they didn't really have the issues
that we
have
have
now.
Yeah.
They weren't thinking about an existential crisis because they were fucking amoeba.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean,
that's when they were trying to control.
it's the gift and the curse of consciousness, right?
But you know what? At the same time, I might have been a plant in a past life, but I don't remember what it's like to be a plant.
We just gone into
but maybe plants feel a whole lot more than we will ever know.
Listen,
We
I'm not
never
even
know.
in plant land right now. I'm
Yeah.
still trying to talk about how
Humans.
letting go.
I don't want to
Let
talk
it
about
go.
plant land.
No,
because
because I don't
nobody
know
would listen to this
anything.
podcast ever again. They'd be like, these are some hippies.
And
At least one
you
of
know
them
what?
is.
Nothing against the hippies. They had something going.
You know?
But all that to say that,
It's
like,
true.
honestly, we pretty much control nothing at all. So every time I get too caught up, like I said, like when sometimes I get like that pit in my stomach for no reason,
Yeah.
and it's just like a pinch, and I'm like, what do you want?
Yeah.
Everything's fine. And if it's not, can I fix it? No? Then go away.
Can we make this funny?
Always.
Can we make this funny? That's a question I ask myself sometimes. I'm like, how could you sell this?
But that I think personally that's where people are scared. Sometimes you have to go into the nitty gritty, into the you know, the little parts of you that are been, you know, there's cobwebs and skeletons, and you know, you don't want to go, and you have to do that
You know,
in order to really grow in life and have the things that you actually. This is what people don't realize. We sit here. Isa and I talk about this. Why she's grinning at me. We talk about this every day.
All day, every day.
Every day, all day, every day, and thank God that we do, because
Yeah.
we have each other's support. You know, it's funny, we sit here as humans and wish for all these things. So whatever that be, you know, I want to be
happy.
successful at, you know, my gift. I want to find the love of my life. I want to, I don't know, I
Travel
want to
the
travel the world.
I want to be rich. I want to
Whatever you're
Looks like
thinking,
we all have
all
same
of the
dreams.
above. We're all the above, right? But we don't realize that when we're putting this desire out, you know, to get that desire, there's steps that have to be taken for that to happen.
Yeah.
And in order, most likely, in order for that to happen, I'll give the most obvious, okay? I'm a girl, it's probably expected for me that. Anyways, I want to find the love of my life, okay? Whatever.
Dudes want that too.
No, I'm just saying, like, I'm gonna break down what I'm trying to say, right? So you put that desire out there, that's what you're wishing for, this and that. Okay, in order to have that good relationship, to have that, forget even the relationship, to have unconditional love, which is the highest form between two people, the work you have to fucking do on yourself.
I like that you cursed right there.
Right? No, because it's that intense.
Yeah.
The work that you need to do on yourself in order to reach that point where because that wish could definitely come true. But are you ready to do that work on yourself and face all of that?
Yeah.
You know,
Which
because
is the biggest
we're
act
getting
of
to
self-love, which is what you're saying.
exactly.
Yeah, but then
So
you have
if-
some
but wait,
people who are
no,
like
but wait a minute.
love birds for
But
like
this is
30
what
years.
people
you wanna
talk-
shoot them.
We live in a society where everybody talks about self-love
Yeah.
on a very
Superficial.
superficial level.
Yeah.
Because really self-love Why would you deny yourself all of those things? Why would you deny yourself of being the best of yourself? But in order to do that, you have to face yourself first and then do the fucking work. And I'm cussing because it's fucking difficult. But if you love yourself, why would you deny yourself of being the best version of yourself in order for all these things that you're asking for to take place?
Because people are scared.
Could you remind me tomorrow what I just said right now?
When we're tripping?
Yes, when we're
Wait,
tripping.
but it's making me think.
I just want to put that out.
Look, I just want to say.
Because I'm human, you know.
This is making me
fair,
think.
and it's a good question. It's a good question.
It is.
This is making
Actually,
me think
it's a
about.
statement. Boo boo. I love you. But that was a statement.
That was a statement.
And it was with cuss words, like Dee said, because
That's how deep it was.
it is deep.
But this is making me think about my friend that got married, and her dad's speech. It said something like, marriage is not just about finding the right person and having that right person, but also about being the right person.
Yeah.
And I found that so deep.
It
You know
is
what I mean?
powerful. It's
It's powerful, exactly, because I was like, it's true. Because it's always like, oh, I found you, and you're perfect, and you do this, and you do that, and you hold me, and blah, blah, blah. It's like, yeah, but what do you do?
Yeah.
What do I do? What am I doing in this? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I can't just look at you and expect you to change and be, and you know what I mean? It's like, what
Everything
about...
in perfect relationship to my needs.
Yeah.
Like, at the beginning, it's like almost like you meld with someone.
Yeah, you do.
It's just like the
Right.
energy is just
Can't
like
help
boom.
it.
So you guys, every time you're getting together, you're just like you're vibing. But after that, there's that part of love which is really blessed and amazing, and you can continue to enjoy that. But what happens to the aspect of love that shows up where it's like this person isn't perfectly responding to my expectations in any way, shape, or form? How do you face that part of your life when you get to that place?
Do you know what?
Truly show up.
You have to face
Face
yourself.
Yeah.
And you know what? That's the thing, even pertaining to relationships.
Absolutely.
Once that did not work, for instance.
Mm-hmm.
It's very difficult because at first you'll see what the other person did wrong.
Yeah.
And even if that person did you wrong,
Mm-hmm.
you played a role in that. I was just discussing this
Yes.
48 hours ago with a man,
Yeah.
actually. And this is what I said. I admitted to this because I wore a mask. So many masks and walls for so many years. Not wanting to... I was protecting my heart protecting my sensitivity. So what happened was I was attracting what my masks were.
Yeah, that's it.
So my
that's
inner,
deep.
yes,
Yeah.
my true self was not being fed,
Yeah.
right? So then then I was hurt by this person that was not on my frequency really, but I attracted through my masks and walls,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Because they didn't see past that. Then yes, they did me wrong, and there is no excuse for what they did. But I played a part in that because I did not show up.
Yeah.
I completely.
I did not show up.
I completely agree with you.
I did not show up.
That's
Sybil is preaching.
I'm
Are you
sorry.
listening?
I love it. I love
So
it.
that is where I face myself.
Right.
Yes, that person did me wrong, and there is no excuse for that.
Right.
But I didn't show up.
Right.
And this is the part I played.
Yeah.
And
It's
there's
important
always
to take
going
it, yeah.
to
To face
always,
that.
You have to face it.
There's always going to be like, I feel one of the shadows of the light are when people are going after self-mastery because they're trying to avoid to make mistakes and they're
Yes.
trying to avoid being hurt, because then they end up with a lot of knowledge and then they use it against themselves and they use it against other people,
Exactly.
and it's okay.
What a travesty. No, it's a travesty.
No, but I
actually.
mean, like, someone has to show up for that. Like we were saying,
Mhm.
I've realized that if I've gone through some things, a part of me was showing up there for that.
Yeah.
on whatever level. And one level it was that I wasn't asserting my power in relationship to something that I consider to be an affront on my well-being, by being truthful and being in my integrity and saying, I want to be okay, but this doesn't make me feel okay. I don't know why, but this is how I feel. I'm going to continue to be really honest about that and then go from there.
Yeah.
And then on the other side, this is the one that most people will be afraid to acknowledge. When they are a victim of something, they are probably victimizing somebody somewhere in the exact same way. Yeah. Like,
Definitely.
really. And it's like the pain you feel from what this person is doing to you, if you could just have the humility. You don't need to go on a search and destroy mission.
Yeah.
Just acknowledge that there is that same mother effing bitch sitting inside of you doing that same thing.
But to face yourself is not that easy, because sometimes you actually don't see it, right?
That's
But
it.
what happens when you see that?
Oh, when you see it
When
and
you now see it,
you
there's
refuse
a
to deal with
moment
it, that's a different
Where
story.
you
Yeah.
get
Yeah.
affronted, you're confronted, you're like, oh snap, I've been doing this thing because I can't stop thinking about how horrible this thing is, that I've been doing this thing here, and it's like the car slamming to like a stop,
Yeah.
because all the judgment you had on that place is the judgment you have on yourself. There's a motorcycle going out because
It's like,
It's like a
big manly man.
whoever's riding that motorcycle, this is for you.
Yeah.
You know, like there's a part of you doing that, and it's like either you self-destruct in that moment to maintain the same judgment you have for that other place that you're showing up for, or you breathe and acknowledge that you don't know, and even if you can't do it for that other person right now, sorry, I'm losing my voice as I'm saying
Okay.
it. Even if you can't do it for that other person right now, just acknowledging that fact and letting go.
Yeah.
Just letting go.
Yeah.
Like, you can't punish the person into being better, because if you punish yourself into being better, you won't have a self to be there to get better. You know?
That's true.
That's that edge. And it's like, I don't know, I feel so passionate about it. I'm like,
I know, but it's true.
yes,
No,
cooling.
but like you're mentioning, you're talking, basically you're saying forgiveness is a big part of it as well. Being able to be like, listen, I did this. Like when you realize that you have been doing something. When you realize the part you have been playing.
Yeah.
Because for a while you don't know when you're lost. And I do think that whatever theme you're supposed to work out in your life is going to keep showing up and showing up and showing up in smaller than bigger, the scarier ways until you go, whoa. And so people never do.
Yeah.
And that's why they end up in the pits of hell somewhere, and you're like, how did you end up in that situation? I don't know, but I feel like you do always get those nudges, and they do always get bigger and bigger because you're supposed to learn something there.
yeah.
But it's true that along the way, when you get to that critical point, when you realize, holy crap, I have been this person, there is that moment that comes in, and it's like you want to kick yourself, and you're like, why? I can't believe I was that person.
Yeah.
Or say, for me, if I can speak just through experience, it comes to the things I want to accomplish in my life. It's like I've had moments where, I catch myself procrastinating, and I'm like, and
You've
then
had
when
moments?
and then but I catch myself, and I'm like, no, because sometimes I'll justify. I'm like, you know what? I'm going with the flow of my life. I can't be forcing myself to do certain things. I can't be forcing certain things to happen. Because there are moments where you're like, I should be doing this, but there's nothing more to be done. But then there's other circumstances where it's like, no, I should be taking action right now, and I can't be justifying this anymore. And when I get to that point, I'm like, I have done this in the past a lot, where I've kicked myself, and I've spent so much time pushing myself in the corner, yelling at myself, that I'm procrastinating even more. You know? So it's
that's
like,
true,
and then I
that's a
hate
good one.
myself even more, and then I keep kicking myself, and that's the part I feel where people fall, is that they realize what their shadow is, but they don't take the time to forgive themselves for being that person in that moment.
Yeah.
To realize that they are beyond their circumstances. So
Yeah.
Even if you have been a really bad person in that moment,
Mm-hmm.
that's not you, and you can change the story.
That's
you
just,
can change
that's just
it.
an auto response to Cray Crayville.
But that's the thing. But
You
the
know?
thing is, we get lost because we start kicking. We think that by punishing ourselves, we're doing ourselves some good.
If we sit here and punish ourselves, it's like what
I blame
Sybil
that
said.
on religion.
But that's
Well,
it.
you know what? I don't want to say nothing about no religious folks.
No,
because
no.
please stay in your corners.
I know, but I blame that on all the religions because all the religions say one thing: that we are sinful beings.
Yeah.
That we are like that before whatever you
I
believe in
actually
came
figured
in.
out what original sin meant to
What?
me.
Oh, what does it mean to you?
But please continue.
No, it just I blame that like on the fact that like, you know, everything our system is based on punishment. You know
It's
what I
like
mean?
based on a hell. Look, this
They
is
don't
hell.
want-
Hell
because they
exists.
don't want you to face yourself. Because if all humans really start facing themselves,
Mhm.
they're going to become very self-aware.
Mhm.
And what happens when you become self-aware? You become very aware on the exterior as well.
But you have to let
You-
go of
it's-
destruction, of the fear
right,
of
but
destruction.
it's once you're very self-aware, it's very hard to lie to someone like that,
Yeah.
and you are not as influenced. They don't want you to be. They don't want you to master that. You know.
That's the thing.
So it's better for they have people. This is why there's people walking around zombies that are not facing themselves.
Mm.
You know,
Yeah, but I
and
feel like
they want that,
it's true. It's
You
true.
numb yourself
It's
out.
true. They want you to, and they also want.
which is
I mean,
this
as a
horriblest
society, like
thing
this.
you could do to yourself. Really.
It's true.
So I said, to me, the highest form of self-love, though it's very difficult, is actually facing yourself and working on yourself.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and
You
being
know?
like, I'm worth it.
Yeah.
I'm worth the effort
But
I'm putting into
aren't you?
healing. But that's the thing. But it's deciding that. It's deciding
Yeah.
to own all of you. But the thing is, all of you
Mhm.
appears to you as you go, right? Like
Yeah.
there's certain things right now
Something
that I'm
has to mirror
discovering.
it back
Yeah,
to you.
like I'm discovering
Thank
this.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like
but it's
from-
very.
yeah.
You said something key thing. It's the decision, because once you make that decision, though, there's no turning back.
I actually
There isn't.
don't agree. For me, I think it's just the way it molds in my head. I feel like the decision for enlightenment
Needs
is
to be
a
taken every
decision
day.
you take
Oh yeah.
every single moment and every single
Of course
day.
you do, but I'm
And-
saying once you made that decision,
Yeah.
that this is like once you start knowing
Mm-hmm.
and you've taken that decision. Trust me, when you try to go back to your old ways,
But you can never go backwards.
No,
you
that's
can
what I
just-
was- that's
you
all I
can
was
just,
trying to
You can
say.
just branch because
Yeah,
at every
that's
level
it.
of light, there's
Exactly.
a shadow,
Exactly.
and we always do that. You know. So I agree with you.
And back to
that's
the
the thing
shadow.
about like. You can hear if you allow someone else to say what they don't agree with you. You can find out that your position is the words that you attribute just to the position are just words.
yeah,
You know that you're following your truth,
That's
and
powerful.
every person that comes towards you helps you learn that more and more.
Mm.
So,
I like the idea of a mirror and like what you were saying, Isa, about like you encounter your light and your shadow on your path through your relationship. Like you don't get like a whole glimpse like all at once. You know?
graduated from human school.
We would implode. Like,
And now
we
you're
would literally
Jesus Christ.
explode.
Oh, trust me.
Here's
Just one,
consciousness.
let me tell you guys. Just one semester when you start off of this
Human
bracket,
school.
yes, this university, you know.
Trust me, you don't sign up for it. It just
No,
happens.
that's my point. Somewhere you said to yourself, "Yes, I'm ready. I'm ready to work on myself." See, you don't realize what you're saying
No.
when you're
Yeah.
saying these things to yourself, because somewhere there's this like contract that you don't know you signed, but you signed it probably with your blood
Yeah, that is true.
and sweat and
Blood of
tears,
your
That is
first
true.
with your soul. And believe me, once you sign that and you're off to the races and you're at your first semester, that first semester is hell. It is. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It's not easy working on yourself. It's not easy facing yourself. But seriously, you know how they say ignorance is bliss?
Yeah,
I don't agree with that.
I actually very much agree. I
agree.
I don't think I feel like I've always been on the other side where I'm like, fuck, I wish I didn't know.
Really?
The way I feel
because you are
like
far.
I'm not talking about myself.
It's like knowing how
knowing
an air conditioner works.
You know,
like for example, you don't need to know how an air conditioner works anymore to have an air conditioner. You can move from being
but I get it, because if you don't
the
know
basics of everything, all the knowledge that has ever been, you're just like, I'm so.
No, it's true, because if you don't know, you don't even.
You don't look for it.
You don't look for it.
In your life.
But going back to what I initially said, facing yourself is actually the highest form of self-love. And working on yourself. So really, the end result of that is bliss. Ignorance ain't.
But I want to hear how you feel about it.
Yeah. About what? Ignorance being bliss?
Cause we kind of jumped in.
No, I don't know. I just feel like, for instance, knowing everything that's happening in the world and feeling helpless, I feel that it gives you like apathy and it's like conflicting. But if you're in your little patch of the world with your little community and you know that you can help 3 people by like, I don't know, making this quilt, that's gonna heat them up, then you feel
you don't need to know why the world markets are crashing.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Create well-being for the world.
That's what I'm saying.
You don't need CNN.
Exactly. I feel like this surge also of information and like, this is what's happening and you can't do anything about it, and this is what's happening and you can't do anything about it. Like, I feel like all this is drowning the whole thing, which is you can help by facing yourself and by doing that little change, around you. And that's where I think that yes, ignorance is bliss. That's where I think that yes. Well,
how can you be able to hear where your soul is calling you to go to take care of anything if you're always out there looking for a fight?
True.
Or something to say is the problem. Like if you never stop. Like I know someone who has CNN, and some people have CNN.
Yeah, but
and all
if you
that stuff
don't
running all the
acknowledge,
time.
if you don't acknowledge that,
no, it's not to say not to acknowledge. I'm just saying that everyone has a different gradient. Some people really need to sit there and look, and for them, that is where they belong on this earth. Is to look and to find out and to share or to.
But if you don't know what's going on around you, and you don't know we could say kumbaya and peace and I love the world and we're all one. If you don't give a fuck what's happening to the fucking country beside you and the people suffering in it, all that means absolutely nothing. And that's where I mean, where people don't want to face themselves. Why are you scared to watch TV and see what's going on in the world? That's creating something within you that's not feeling good.
I'm sorry.
No, but this is my opinion.
I see what you're trying to say.
This is just my opinion, and I think that a lot of people say I'm a light worker and all of this, therefore I don't see negative. Okay, no. But you know what? This is where I was going back and saying not facing your shadow is a problem. Why? Because when you don't, right? You want to talk about light and all of that. You can't really tap in your light if you are not aware of the shadow, and that's within and without. Anyways.
Listen, it's like I agree with you, but the whole thing about like not watching TV and not like listening to the news and everything like that, to a certain point, because
I won't even get into
like, you open the paper and it's just shit. Like it's
but it's reality. It's reality.
But reality is made of good and bad things.
But
all we hear is bad things.
Yeah, because it's not touching you. But if it was touching your family and it was touching us here in Montreal,
there's a lot of things that are happening.
So wait a minute. As long as it's not touching us and it's negative, we don't want to hear about it. So where is compassion? Where is really love for everybody? Where is feeling all of that? That's part of light.
I understand, but all I'm saying is that I understand what you mean, but like if I take the media right now, like if it was really balanced, yes, we would talk about shit that's happening here, that's happening all over the world, but we also talk about the things that work, which we barely do.
But that's part of facing. That's part of facing what's going on in the world. And when other people, thy neighbor. I love how people are always this and that. If you don't give a shit what's happening with thy neighbor, which means it's an expression I'm using, but with someone across the world or whatever, just because it's negative, it is negative. But we are
I didn't
caught.
say that I don't
but you
give
know
a
what?
shit.
Because we don't face it and we don't want to hear about it, and this is why it's happening.
Well, can I
And to
add
me,
something?
that's
Yeah.
bullshit. Because if we're gonna talk about love, and we're talking about we're all one, and this is like a world community and all this type of stuff, I'm tired of hearing all this lingo and people talking about I'm a light worker, but I'm not gonna watch anything that's negative or hear what's happening. Bullshit, you're fraud.
I think that for everybody is that there is
Good
a
luck with
process.
growth.
There is a process towards becoming a light worker. There is a process towards becoming a full being, and there is a momentum. So if you spent a lot of your life working in like the shadow we were saying before and just running, most people get to a point where they're depressed. There's a lot more depressed people out there. They're angry.
That's not why they're depressed.
They're angry, they're confrontational, they have a lot of anxiety,
They're
they have a
not
lot of
confronting
fears. They have a lot of things that are going on. And when they try to tackle issues from that place, all they do is bring more aggression to the table.
Yeah.
When they're not well, when they are easily combustible, when they are scared, like they can't hear the other side of a situation. So there's a lot of people watching news like that. They're sitting there and they're getting angrier and angrier, or they are like not listening to what's going on in their families. They don't have compassion for the people in the home with them. They don't have compassion for themselves. They don't really know what's going on in other people's lives, you know? And there's some people who sit down and watch the news and they hear that and they say, I can see why this is happening in the world we live today. I have knowledge, I have access, or if the access is like they work for somebody that they make decisions with, or that person has like a group of people they deal with, or that person just is someone who has a lot of compassion and an ability to just lose their minds in the face of aggression and say, it's good if we can heal, like those people showing up to watch the news.
To me personally, the reason why people are miserable is because they're all about me, myself, and I.
I agree with you. That's true.
You know, and the minute you're like, I don't want to know about anything as long as it doesn't affect me, and because it's negative, it's reality. And if you don't face that, you cannot have compassion for others. And there's something my father said to me on his deathbed. And it was very strong for me. He said, the only way you will not feel depression and you will not feel sad is by helping another person. Do not just focus on that. This is a problem. People don't want to face what's going on around them. It's all about me, myself, and I, unless it affects them personally. Oh, then when it affects them personally, it's fine. But this whole ignorance of not facing reality and what's happening in the world, I personally think this is what's partly why everyone's walking around miserable and they shallow and they don't even know. So they don't want to feel pain. That's not facing your shadow. Going back to that, you got to be able to face your pain. You grow from that.
What's the guideline to be a good human being then?
I don't know. Well, it's hard to balance.
Like, what is balance?
We're talking
what is that for that person? Like, how much news do they need
negative
to watch?
and positive.
What channels should they watch? What newspapers should they read? For how long should they read it?
Can I try to answer your question?
Yes.
For me, I have noticed, like that's something I did notice because that's something our father did a lot. He still does it every night. Gets to after work, 6:30, watches the news at 10 again, watches the news in the morning, watches the news 6:30 at 10. That's his thing. That's what I grew up seeing. So at some point I was like, I guess that's what I'm gonna do.
Yeah.
But then I did find myself feeling extremely helpless in face of those situations, which is normal, and I had to sit there and kind of deal with that. But then again, beyond that, as I'm trying to balance it out, I was like, okay, well, I'm really, really, really miserable right now about a situation I cannot change. And I know there are a gazillion other things happening in the world. Yet, these are the few clips that whoever is up there is choosing to show me. You know? And that's the part that made me take a step back. And I took a step too far back.
Yeah.
Where it became more just about really my close circle, my friends, my family, the people I bump into on the streets. That's where I feel comfortable. I feel like I'm able to help.
Comfortable.
And where I feel I'm able to help, where I'm comfortable there, yeah. I did, however, see that it's not good to completely cut myself off from what's happening in the world, even though it feels like a stab in the heart every time, because I am a part of the world, you know. But I do find it important to remain aware. Yet I'm not gonna subject myself to keep watching certain things and feel helpless about them, not know what to do, and that's somehow just taking energy away from the good that I can bring in my own life and the people around me. And I know that in a way that is selfish, but at the same time, it's important because I can't sit around and be fucking miserable all day because something I watched on TV. And in the end, the whole day I spent
But that's you. Why are you allowing yourself? Why did you ever think, why are you miserable?
Because I feel like I'm not able to do anything about the situation.
I know
at
why.
the moment.
I know why.
It's the helplessness that comes with it, and
you're relating with those human beings.
But that's the thing, and
But
I know.
bask in that.
But that's
the
the thing.
compassion.
But I think
There's basking in that.
everybody has a different place for which they have to bask. Everyone has a different gift. Everybody has a different amount of strength or fire in them for certain things. What if the person you need to focus on is your next door neighbor?
That's it.
And that person takes all your attention. Are you gonna tell that person, I'm sorry, but I have to go and watch the news for 2 hours? You know, like what if that's where you're called and that's where you're garnering your energy?
No, I get it, but
you know?
completely excluding it, that's what I mean.
But nobody talks about
no, it's saying making a choice for yourself.
But I know a lot
moment.
of people, I hear this more and more. I don't watch the news. It's negative.
Yeah.
And I agree that it's
this is, personally, I think this is a problem in North America. Not facing what's going on in the world. You know what? You don't actually, I know by difference, you talk to people from other continents, they don't talk like that. You hear that a lot here.
Girl.
No. You hear that a lot here. I don't watch the news. It's negative.
Yeah, but at the
in
same time,
you're in your pocket of
comfort. We're all here protected in our little comfort as long as we're not affected. But when 9/11 hit, hello, we are going to. And
it was
you know,
the States too.
no. But I'm going to say something about that. You know what? I lived in France when I was in metros. There was terrorists. I was in a metro where they bombed. Okay, they were bombing like left, right, and center. I was living terrorism way before it hit 9/11.
Yeah.
And the whole world knew about it. But nobody talked about it in North America, nor wasn't concerned about that until we got hit. When we got hit, that was it. So as this, I am sorry, it creates a spoiled society. It creates people that have no empathy, no compassion, and I don't care. I'm just saying, this is my opinion. Everybody wants to talk about spirituality and love and this. It's bullshit. If you don't even care what's going on somewhere else, just because and I'm not talking about you personally, okay? But just because you don't want to be affected, how about all those people that are suffering? You just don't want to be affected by watching it? Like, this is like a whole society that thinks like this. And then people want to talk about and come up with self-help books and ʻmirər and talk about spirituality and light workers. It's crap. But smoke another spliff and be in your fucking little world, you know, and that's it, where you're not affected and you're living great and you don't care. But don't go out and say I care about the world and I'm about love and I'm about this, and that's bullshit. If you don't care what's going on.
You know what? I agree, but then again, there's the flip side.
And how are you
It's
gonna grow?
I'm not gonna sit there and watch marathons of people being decapitated for like 3 hours.
There's all kind of news. That's
it.
If you watch American news, you might see decapitation.
But that's what I mean.
Watch
There are
something
people-
else.
but that's
BBC, they won't show you no decapitation.
Exactly.
I mean,
so it's about finding whatever
the
works.
balance, exactly. Like,
Like-
you have to have a knowledge of the world,
Yeah.
but at the same time, if you let your energy be depleted by all that information,
Yeah.
and again, I like what you said, Asa. You're looking at something that somebody or a group decided this is what you're gonna see. It doesn't mean that there's nothing else going on in the world. It doesn't mean that there's nothing going on in your backyard right now, you know? So it's
or in
very
your family or in yourself. Or
Yeah.
It's just
So
important
I
to be
think-
informed.
yes, to be aware of
not
your
to not
world.
shy away from the shadow that belongs to you.
Nor outside, because that's what's gonna make you grow as a person.
You know, I found I went somewhere recently, and I found it was very interesting because every meal we ate, the news was on. There was a lot of conversation about the news, constantly throwing the names around, what party's doing this, what this person's doing, da 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 da. And some of those people were very, very instrumental in making decisions about the way things were going to change for a large group of people. And it was wonderful to hear them speaking very eloquently about what was going on. At the same time, I found that the environment that I was in lacked a certain also amount of empathy. That empathy that we're looking for to reach out and say we care about another person does not necessarily come from doing a certain particular action, because they were the experts at it, and they would not flinch an eye at screaming at a person who was their age who worked for them, humiliate
That's
them
a good
in front
point.
of a bunch of people. Like, that's their culture, but they're so erudite on the details of what's going on the news. And I feel it doesn't matter what you're doing. I feel like what Sybil is saying is, for me, I hear the message. It speaks to that part of me that's trying to hide from things that are going on in my life that are calling for my attention, for my own emergencies, and I'm trying to run away from that. That's that spirit that's saying, wake up and look. But at the same time, if you feel you need to heal from something that's been going on in your life, and you need to shut off the operations of looking outside all the time. You can't look outside, look inside at the same time. You have to have a focus. That if not to feel like you're a bad person, but rather like garner all the energy that you have, and don't use your time being self-hateful towards yourself because you're inappropriate. But rather gather why you need those resources. Why do you need to come back?
Yeah.
So that's just what I have.
Wow. No, that was really good. I think like we can really wrap it up as to facing yourself. I like what you said, Sybil. It was detected, accepted, own it. Yeah. So
detected, accepted.
yeah, so it's like 3 steps, like super clear, you know? And I think we can all do that in our lives. And to me, it all comes back to that.
Yeah,
to me,
true.
the way to change the world is to start by changing myself.
Yeah.
It's always like that. It's be accountable.
Yeah.
Be accountable for what, and you got it. Going back, you got to be accountable yourself to be accountable with someone sitting beside you in front of you.
Yeah.
And it's very important. We don't live here by ourselves.
Yeah, and you have
But
to
it's-
accept your limitations.
Yeah.
To accept someone else's. And realize they're not necessarily at the same place as you are.
But not use that as a cop-out.
Exactly.
You have to face yourself. You can't be like,
Yeah.
okay, well, this is just how I am. No, you're like that for a reason, because inside of you, you're not facing yourself. And at the end of the day, I just think it's the best thing you could do for yourself if you really love yourself.
And also, it's a decision that you have to take every single day.
Yeah.
Always.
Every single day.
Because you're always growing, right?
Yeah. And
30
there's new
It's true.
All the time.
opportunities to, face yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't remind me.
On that note, ladies.
Let's clink to facing ourselves.
Clink.
Thank you so much for listening to this heated but nonetheless enlightening conversation.
Don't love people.
Ladies,
I'm just passionate.
Thank you, love you.
We love fashion.
For those of you listening, we love you too. Thank you so much for tuning in for your happy hour, and make sure to tune in for the next episode of
Let's